and welcome to Lesson 3, Unit 2 of CKLA Skills. We will be unscrambling some sentences. So we're going to read those words, put them together to make a good, complete sentence. We are going to be reading words with different spellings for the E sound, that long E. And we're going to participate in a story. We're going to read the story, and we're going to answer some questions and write about the story after we read it. The story is titled The Milk. We're going to unscramble sentences. So when something is scrambled, it's mixed up. So we're going to unscramble it. We're going to put it back together the way it should be. Take a second to read these words. Notice you have your capital letter. That's going to be your starting word because all sentences start with a capital letter. You have your end mark, so you know this is the last word of your sentence. Take a minute and see if you can build a sentence with the words listed. Can't I sit up a bit? Do you have it correct? Check your answer. Great job. I'm going to give you a little extra time on this one. Remember, capital letter starts your sentence. Your end mark will end your sentence. Check your answer and be careful with this one because there's two capital letters. But look at the word this. This is not normally capitalized. So we know that this has got to be the very beginning of the sentence. This is a bedtime tale your grandpa liked to tell me. Did you get it correct? Great job. Now let's review some of our sounds. If you saw the spelling in a word, what sound would you say? These letters are working together as a digraph or a letter team, and we say the sound E. Make the E sound. This is your long E. So far we've talked about the sneaky E, making vowels make the long sound. Now this is a different combination that makes the long vowel sound E. Tree, B. Let's sound the word out. B, E, B. T, R, E, tree. E, free. S, w, E, t, sweet. S, E, m, seam. W, E, d, weed. Remember, your two E's put together in a word say E. Now this is a new vowel combination. E and A together makes the E sound also. Now this is where your first grade teacher may have used two vowels go a-walking and the first one does the talking. That works most of the time, but we're going to see some times this year where that doesn't work. Now E and A together as a vowel sound says E. These letters are working together as a digraph or letter team. We say the E sound when we see them together inside of a word. Meet, seat. Let's sound these words out. B, E, ch, beach. St, r, e, m, stream. D, e, ul, deal. T, e, m, team. E, t, heat. D, r, e, dream. Week, week. Now you notice this is not like the days of the week. This is like if you are not strong, you are weak. This is the third way that we have learned to make the long vowel sound E. EA says E. What is the vowel sound in this word? Remember the rule, the sneaky E rule. This is our lesson from yesterday and Monday. If you have E, consonant E, that's your sneaky or your magic E that makes the vowel say its name. This word is peat. E, t. Remember those two E's go together to say E. Let's read more of these E words. Eve, theme, these, Pete. Remember that our magic E or sneaky E at the end of a word makes that other vowel say its name, makes the long vowel sound. Let's practice chaining some of these magic E words. Sound your word out. Them. Add your sneaky E to the end of the word, and what does it change it to? Them becomes theme. Wed. How could you make this with a long E sound? Weed. Good. You notice on this one, we didn't put that sneaky E at the end. We doubled the E in the middle of the word. Weed. Bet. Now we're trying to make the word beat, right? Because we're going to make the long vowel sound. Beet. Now this is a vegetable, like a beet is something that you would eat. Now you could also make an EA. So if you beat another team, that's another way to write the word beat. Dan. This is a tricky one because you may never have heard this word before. Dean. A dean of a college is kind of like your principal at your elementary school. Dean. Met. Think about the word that you would have a long E sound, not the but the E. How would you change this word? One way, add that EA, it becomes meat, like the meat that you would eat. Now you could also put the EE in the middle of the word, and that would mean like when you're meeting with a group of people, meet. Man. Think about how you would change this to say A. Mane. Very good. This is like the mane on a lion. Red. Reed. Very good. And this is like the reed that you would refer to with an instrument, not like the read, like read a book. You would use the EA combination there to say E and read. Bled. Bleed. Very good. Bat. Beat. Mat. Meat. Great job. Now pause the video and find the story in your packet titled The Milk. Take a minute to think about what happened in yesterday's story, Mike's bedtime. Mike was wanting to not go to bed, wasn't he? What did Dad do to make sure that Mike's bedtime wasn't so sluggish? Let's review some important words that we learned yesterday. Setting. A setting is where the story takes place. So it could be the location, it could be the time of day, but it's the where and the when. Characters. Characters are very important. That's the who and the what is in the story. The plot is probably the hardest one to figure out, but the plot is usually the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. So it's those events that help us recall what happened in the story. Now, usually there's a problem and usually there's a solution. So something's wrong and someone figures out how to solve the problem. Today you will have a new genre or a new type of story. This story is going to be it's going to be called a fable. So this is a fiction story. It's called fable. So when we talk about like fiction and nonfiction, we've talked about folk tales before. We're going to be focusing on fables today. A fable is a story that teaches a lesson. So it's a fiction story that you learn a lesson from. We call these lessons moral. So sometimes you'll hear someone ask, what was the moral of the story? That basically means, what is the lesson learned from the character in the story? Today you're going to read a story titled The Milk. This story is very similar to Aesop's fable, The Milkmaid and the Pail. Now, Aesop's fable is a list of really famous fables. If you ever have a chance to look at it in the library, ask Miss Angela about Aesop's fables books. She may be able to pull you up a few. But you're going to hear a fable that's very similar to this fable, this very old fable. So as you're reading, you're going to be looking for the lesson that is learned in the story. Now, remember our sneaky E and our long vowel sounds. Let's review these long vowel sounds and read these words. You're going to see these words in the story today. So let's go down the first column and read those fluently. Home, hope, those, stone. Now let's go to the second column. Use, cute, fumed. Now here are a few words that you may not know what they mean, but they'll help you with the comprehension of our fable today. The first word is lass. A lass is another word for a girl. In some countries, they refer to girls and boys as lads and lasses. So a lass is a girl. Split. Think about how you've used the word split. Split could be to put in half, like to divide it into sections. Or it could be you run off in fear of getting in trouble. So if you split, you may take off because you don't want to get in trouble for something. So split can mean two different things. Slop. Now slop, you refer to animal that or food that you would give to a pig. Like the food that a pig would eat, it kind of looks like slop. It's not something that you would get excited about eating, but it's their food kind of ground up together for them to eat. So the words are lass, split, slop. You are going to read the story titled The Milk. So once you find your story in your packet, you are going to read the story. You may read it to yourself. You may read it to someone in your home. You need to make sure that you go through your story and you can read your story fluently to someone, or you can read it fluently in your head. So if you struggle with the words, be sure that you go back through it, know those words, make sure you're reading it at a good, timely pace. So you may practice by timing yourself reading it the first time. Try reading it more than once. See if you get a little faster. Now you're going to pause the video and read the story, The Milk. Now that you have read your story, you're going to answer a couple of questions on the story. If you struggle with the answers to these questions, be sure that you go back and reread the story again. What was the setting of the story? How do you know that was the setting of the story? Can you prove it? Who are the characters in the story? Who was mentioned most? Who is your main character? Did you have animals in your story? Did they talk? Did they do fictional things? Remember, the plot is kind of the hardest one. What is the plot of this story? So can you tell me in your own words what the beginning, the middle, and the end event would be? So take time now and pause your video. Tell someone at home, what happened at the beginning? What happened in the middle? What happened at the end of the story? Was there a problem that was solved? What is the plot of this story? What is the moral of this story? So as you were reading the story, The Milk, what was the lesson learned? Remember, a moral is a lesson. Now, when you look in your packet on page 15, you will see a sheet that is asking you, in your own words, to write 4 sentences about the moral. So you're going to stop the video and find worksheet page 15. Now that you have found worksheet page 15, you're going to write 4 sentences about what Jane learned. So by the end of the tale, what did Jane learn? What was the moral that she learned? Make sure when you write your sentences, that you write good, complete sentences. Start it with a capital letter, end it with an end mark. Make sure you reread your sentences. If they don't make sense to you, they're not going to make sense to your teacher or anybody else reading them. So make sure when you reread your sentences, they make sense to you. Okay, let's quickly review with our learning targets. We unscrambled our sentences. We put our sentences together to make them correctly written, good, healthy sentences. We read some different sounds with the E, and we made some new words with that long E sound. So we learned the E and the EA make that long E sound. We used key details in the fable, The Milk, and we used the milk, the key details, to answer questions and to write about the lesson learned in the story. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow with lesson 4.